This week, New York Magazine has a feature piece about the magical tools Hollywood uses to shave years off an actor's life, reshape a performance, or even recast a role after a movie's been shot. Rachel, can you explain some of these CGI techniques?
Yeah, so this has been used in movies a lot longer than in television, and of course used in magazines before that. So using digital tools to enhance somebody's in the comic book movies, for instance, to give people like more six packs or
12 packs.
12 packs, or if you had
or a 2-4.
Yeah, exactly, 2-4. If you had an actress who was playing a period part and she had a tattoo, you could get rid of the tattoo. I mean, so it's those kinds of things. You could, if a character lost an arm, you could digitally erase the arm in the movie or the television show. Now it's gotten to the point where it's not just adding to special effects or cleaning up a tattoo, or in the case of the movie Benjamin Button with Brad Pitt, where he aged backwards. Now it's at a point where it's like making people look a bit younger, a bit thinner. It's more like cosmetic surgery than it is like a special effect. And, the article, which I think is by Logan Hill, talks to a bunch of people in the business who do this, who say, basically anything you're seeing now, the actors and actresses have been made to look younger, thinner, more toned, to remove a stray pimple. They talk about TV shows like Glee, like teenage shows, where they call it like a pimple pass before every episode, where they go over to clean up any imperfections. So this is not just for special effects. This is cosmetic surgery.
And it's ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. It's happening not just in movies, but in your average TV show. So it is probably happening in late night dramas and sitcoms, where it's happening all the time now.
Emily, is this cheating?
Is Hollywood cheating? Yes, it's 100% cheating. But that's why we like it. We like it because it presents the impossible as real. I'm not saying that it's ideal that we're having a thing where actresses are stretched like 95%, so they look 5% thinner than they actually are. But at the same token, when Olivia Newton-John didn't eat for 3 days and was sewn into a leather catsuit at the end of Grease, that was also cheating. This
also
is
not ideal.
Also not ideal and not sustainable. To me, I think that the answer is in more education around it. And the most interesting thing about the CGI actors' kind of cosmetic computer surgery is that what they're doing is they're taking full body scans of actors and then animating them. So we're getting to a point where the actor doesn't have to give a performance. They can just be animated.
Is that cheating?
Yes, that is cheating. That's where I draw the line.
I don't know. It's all pure celebrity, right? That's what you get when you have these effects. Like, it's just all you have is a recognizable face. It sort of reduces the actor to his purest service to the work of art, which is just to be a recognizable face. But not even
because it's not even the recognizable face.
Well, no, Pee Wee Herman, right?
Right.
Pee Wee Herman is like he's an icon of a certain type.
Right.
That's what he is. His performance and what his actual body looks like is totally irrelevant. And this makes that happen. I just think, the problem comes if you actually let these fantasies affect your life, which of course we all do. But the truth is, this has been going on since birth of a nation. This kind of using lighting. Lighting to make people look better has been used since the origin of photography. So every image is a fantasy, and unless you are sophisticated enough, and it's not that sophisticated, to understand that distinction, it shouldn't be a problem.
Is there a line for you, Rachel? People maybe just want to appreciate real people giving actual performances.
Yeah. For me, there is a line in that I think that it begins to take, understanding that movies and television shows are not reality, but there are some that bind to realism. And so, there are shows like, Orange is the New Black, which I think are more effective to tell their stories because they don't use tons of makeup and tons of lighting. Those women look like, slightly nicer looking versions of women in prison, but, there is some makeup, there is some good lighting, but they're not trying to make it look like, like a soap opera taking place in a prison, or particularly with older actors. I think there is something about a face that shows its history, and when all of that is erased, and in fact, what's interesting in the piece is that there are even some effects done to correct too much plastic surgery in stars. So
Yes.
people who have had so much Botox that their faces are immobile, sometimes they have to add the mobility to a forehead that has been Botox.
And you want the real feeling of Botox, right? You want to actually be exposed to the reality of the Botox.
But I think about something like, you're talking to the creators of The Americans later on, and that's a fantastic show. And part of it is, Kerry Russell, who we saw as a young actress in Felicity, and now we see as a woman in her 30s or 40s now, and she looks like her age, and she looks gorgeous for her age, but she also looks like a woman who's lived a life, and that is evident because whatever they do, it's very minimal.
Well, they put that effect in the end. They put that aging effect in at the end.
So I do think if you're aiming for some kind of realism in your storytelling, to take it all away, it seems to affect the storytelling for me. And I think it also there are issues around setting unrealistic beauty standards for people, which I think can be very harmful.
So, Stephen, last thoughts to you on this. Do you want Harrison Ford to be 40 or 73 in the new Indiana Jones
Tough
movie?
to know. A 73-year-old Indiana Jones sounds pretty depressing to me. Like, he's trying to run away from the running ball and he just gets run over. Like, that doesn't sound that great. No, I mean, I think if you want realism, like, there's always live theater. Like, you can always go and see real people, if you want. But I think people actually prefer the fantasies. They want the distance of the screen that the screen itself provides. And what we're seeing here is that the actor's face is just another screen. That you can project things on.
I want to come back to something you said about education. What do you think people need to know about this, Emily?
I think that, as with all media, it's actually very good to start early talking about the ways the people in this room lie to you.
This room?
This room, every single room where decisions are made about what gets in the media. I think that a media awareness starting from a very early age is key. So when you tell girls, like, hey, this is what the unphotoshopped Mary Claire cover looks like, that has an effect on people's ability to parse and understand the images that we are inundated with day after day.